Whether their instrument is their very own vocal cords, guitar, piano, maybe even a good old ocarina. Musicians often have a profound effect on us emotionally and culturally. But for some of them, the studio isn't enough. They need to get us going on screen and stage too. We get it, you're good at stuff. Here's 15 of those tryhards coming in hot. Ludacris was one of the most popular rap artists of the 2000s. These days, he's of course known as a member of the family in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Hey, Miss Parker.
First appearing in 2003's Too Fast, Too Furious, but his performances have been praised in more dramatic films like Crash and Hustle and Flow. He also had a highly praised and fan-favorite guest performance on Law & Order SVU as Darius Parker. Moving from Hotlanta to Her Majesty upon boy band England, Harry Styles is next on our list. The former One Direction heartthrob made his acting debut only a year after the singing group decided to end things. He played a soldier in the critically acclaimed Dunkirk, directed by former Bat Daddy Christopher Nolan, and was praised for being a blended part of the ensemble and for an overall emotive performance. Harry is set to have bigger roles in upcoming films My Policeman and Don't Worry Darling in the next year. Hope you're keeping your bunch funky because Mark Wahlberg, he's coming in hot.
Nice!
While we feel silly not mentioning his impressive performances in The Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio and in Fear alongside Reese Witherspoon, Wahlberg ultimately proved himself as an actor in 1997's Boogie Nights, a period drama set in the 70s adult entertainment industry. He tried his hand at comedy with things like Ted and Pain and Gain, but is primarily known as a lead man in action. Wahlberg can be seen, we hope very soon, in the Uncharted film as Victor Sullivan. One half of DJ Jazzy Jeff in The Fresh Prince, Will Smith spent the late 80s as a good time storytelling MC. After a chance meeting with producer Benny Medina, Medina knew Will would be perfect for a show he was developing about his own childhood being flipped-turned upside down, and eventually, The Fresh Prince of Bel Air was born. Smith can carry a fun franchise like Men in Black and Bad Boys.
I make this look good.
In 2014, Forbes stated that 17 of the 21 films starring Will Smith had raked in over $100 million each, well worth a champagne glass or two of orange juice. Settle down, little monsters, we would never forget about Gaga. While she had a bit part as girl who sits by pool in a 2001 episode of The Sopranos, Gaga's speaking roles didn't happen till years after the success of her big first single, Just Dance. She had side roles in Machete Kills and Sin City: A Dame to Kill For, and fans went gaga over her performance in American Horror Story. But it's the 2018 remake of A Star Is Born that solidified Gaga as an absolute star. Along with her writing partners, she won the Academy Award for Best Original Song for Shallow, as well as many nominations elsewhere. All I have to say is
talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping.
Back to the Squad Room dedicated viewers, Ludacris is not the first or most important rapper to make the move over to Law & Order SVU. One of the show's longest running ensemble members, at this point only outpaced by Olivia Benson herself, is Detective Finn, portrayed by Ice-T. Ice-T first turned to music in an attempt of chronicling a troubled time in his life by exaggerating circumstances within an invented persona. No wonder he took to acting so quickly in 1991's New Jack City, where he played a beat cop, and within the decade, he would land his still ongoing role on SVU. This was his story. She'll put a spell on you. Bette Midler put herself through theater school singing in gay clubs in NYC, accompanied by Barry Manilow. Manilow helped her produce and arrange her first few albums, and soon she moved on to musical theater. In 1979, she landed the film The Rose, portraying a Janis Joplin-esque tragic musician, and it got her nominated for an Academy Award. In the 80s, the film Beaches drove her to new levels of fame and admiration, and of course, the 90s solidified her as an icon to everyone with Hocus Pocus and First Wives Club. While Elvis Presley taught himself to play guitar from a young age and loved music, he sought to follow in the footsteps of James Dean. By virtue of having a great agent and being inherently good-looking, he was one of the few people in the 50s to sign a contract with Paramount Studios that allowed him to film with other studios. Love Me Tender was a successful debut, and he starred in many films up to 1969. Miserable over the waning quality of his films, he returned to live performances when his contract expired.
Come on, man, come on, sit around now. Turn around, sit around.
Elvis passed at only 42 years of age, 8 years later, never making his dream film, though his filmography is still beloved today. Funny girl Barbra Streisand got her start singing in nightclubs. Her first acting gig was a stage show so bad it closed after a week. Her stick-to-itiveness and sense of humor about it all eventually landed her the role of Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl on Broadway, which would be adapted for film. She would tie with Katharine Hepburn for the Best Actress Oscar.
The winner, it's a tie.
The only time in history that has happened. She was in the 1976 version of A Star is Born and has been on screen in the 2010s in the Meet the Parents comedy series. Tom Waits could give Ice-T a run for his money in the realm of persona building, with his musical career in establishing himself as a folk, punk, jazz, deviant hobo or something. His acting career started accidentally. He composed the score for Francis Ford Coppola's One from the Heart and agreed to small parts in Coppola's films. But it was Hector Babenco's Ironweed that got Waits acknowledged as an actor. In the 90s, Waits was directed by Terry Gilliam, Jack Nicholson, Coppola, and Babenco again, but didn't see himself as an actor. You know what? He's doing a terrible job at not being an actor. He went on to join even more cult classics like Gilliam's The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and most recently the Coen brothers' The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Dolly Parton is having a little old renaissance at the moment, with millennials and Gen Z discovering her unfailing generosity and discography absent of odes to sexy tractors and patriotic trucks. Dolly saw radio play as early as age 10 and moved to Nashville to pursue music at 18. She stumbled onto acting in her 30s with 9 to 5, followed by Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which received a nomination for Best Motion Picture, and garnered Dolly herself a nomination for Best Actress at the Golden Globes. Dolly continues to make television and direct-to-streaming works, like 2019's anthology series, Dolly Parton's Heartstrings. By now, we all know that Jennifer Lopez transitioned from singing to film with the biopic Selenas, but she's actually a triple threat. J-Lo's first on-screen gig was as a backup dancer for the sketch comedy show In Living Color. She was a rom-com queen in the 2000s with hits like The Wedding Planner and Made in Manhattan. In 2019, she starred in the film Hustlers, which many critics and audiences proclaimed a career best. Mandy Moore first jumped from teeny bopper jams to acting by voicing a bear cub in Dr. Dolittle 2 and portrayed top mean girl in The Princess Diaries. But with the screen adaptation of Nicholas Sparks' A Walk to Remember, Mandy Moore began getting critical praise for her acting ability, which is about the only thing that was praised about A Walk to Remember. She is now a notable dramatic actress, most celebrated for her role on This Is Us, but was a part of the cult classic Saved and had impactful roles on Scrubs and Grey's Anatomy. Jennifer Hudson finished 7th in American Idol back in 2004, which that isn't a clear sign of stardom, but a 6-octave range can't be denied for long. Hudson beat hundreds of professional singers, including American Idol winner Fantasia, for the role of Effie in Dreamgirls. Since she has co-starred in Sex and the City and will portray the soul legend Aretha Franklin in Respect later this year. The late, great David Bowie is one of the best-selling musical artists of all time. Like others on this list, Bowie used a persona for his music, but Bowie was the master, revamping his persona for each album. His first film, The Man Who Fell to Earth, earned him the Saturn Award for Best Actor, and Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth is a staple of many people's coming of age. In his acting career, Bowie portrayed Nikola Tesla, Andy Warhol, and even played himself a few times. We laughed, we cried, we got dance, magic dance stuck in her head. What an impressive group of people. But answer me this, superstars. Can you do the Men in Black breakdown dance on roller skates?
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.